Everybody, welcome to Evil Ted Live here on twitch.tv/EvilTedSmith. In today's episode, I'm going to be making a foam knife, a Crysknife from the movie Dune. On the planet Dune, there's these local inhabitants. They're called the Fremen. The Fremen had these blades that were made from the tooth of a dead sandworm. Now, of course, this is the movie. It was a novel. It was really great. But now, I'm a big fan of the movie, and I actually have a prop from the movie. My friend got this to me years ago. We, of course, cleaned it up and painted it. And I thought, you know, what'd be cool is I really want to cover foam sculpting. It's a great thing that people do a lot. I do pattern making. But in this particular episode, I'm going to get into the details about foam sculpting. So I'm going to go ahead and make a foam replica of this knife from the movie Dune. And I'm going to show you how I'm going to go about doing that right now. So how I went about doing this, I just took the original knife and I just traced it on the paper. I got my side profile. I have my top profile. Now that I've got this trace onto paper, I'm going to go ahead and cut this out because I want to be able to transfer this onto foam. I cannot recommend enough getting yourself a good cutting mat. I'll have a link for these below the video. And when you're working your shop, cutting on a wood table or any table, you just ruin the table. But these are self-peeling mats. And by having a self-peeling mat, your blades last longer. We have my patterns cut out. What we're going to make this knife out of, this is EVA foam. This is 1 inch. This is 1 inch EVA foam, white. I went ahead and you can see I glued these two together to get the thickness I'm going to need to make this blade. I'm going to do something very simply, is just to lay this on here and trace it. Hold that. All right, now we have the side profile of this knife. Now you're probably thinking, I guess go ahead and trace this right away, but I'm not. What I'm gonna do is I like to cut this out first. Once you cut this out, you get a better idea of where it's gonna line up. And also, this is your seam line, and you'll have a little bit more control of where you want this to fall with your seam. But I have this, and this would be a lot easier to cut on a bandsaw, which I have just over here off camera. So I'm gonna take this piece, cut this on the bandsaw, and come back and trace the top. All right, there it is, all cut out. Gosh, I tell you people, you can't beat a bandsaw. They're so awesome. Now, I have that lined up. I take my pattern, and I can see exactly where it's going to fall. And the blade has a little bit of a curve to it, as you can see, the knife does. So I'm going to make that flush. That's one thing about the knife that's cool is it's not straight, it's a bone knife. So I do a little bit off-centered. All right, there it is again. Got the top half now. Let's go ahead and take this to the bandsaw again. I'll be right back. Okay, there it is again. Now looking at this, just by cutting out the flat planes of it, you can start to see it coming together. So now this is where the finessing starts. This is where you start to begin to Dremel and clean up. But if, for me, I have the actual prop in front of me, which makes it a lot easier. But if you're working from a photograph or a picture, this is where you have to kind of stop and think about your plans about what needs to be cut away. I have a big belt sander over here, and granted I could probably take the belt sander and just rotate it, but I need to plot out what I'm going to do first before I start grinding, because one thing about sculpting with foam is not like sculpting with clay. If you take something too much off, you can always add it back on with clay. With foam, you're actually removing, so when you're removing, you have to be very cautious and start realizing what's up to. You can't go too far with something because you can't come back. We can see the high points on this blade. So I'm going to take my Sharpie and realize that this is the sharpest. This peak is a great place. It falls right here in the center. And that's going to be the line I'm going to grind to keep that sharp blade. Speaking of sharp, let's get a sharp Sharpie. Hey, how appropriate. I will use my Twitch marker. So again, when I'm grinding, I have to know I'm going to grind to that point. That's a good mark. There's a bit of a peak. You can see that here's a little bit of a raise again. It's subtle. But I make a line so I know I don't go too far. This guy right here, this blade, you see how it kind of curves? That's the high point, so I don't want to go beyond that. I think the Sharpie is going to be, it's bleeding too much. Let's switch over to a ballpoint pen. What we have here, this is my downdraft table. This is, I got the idea from this, my dear friend, I Like to Make Stuff, has a really great video on how to go about making these. I'll have a link for this below the video. We're going to use, starting off, I'm going to use a heavy duty sanding drum. I'm going to have going in with that. And when I'm doing that, do not forget, people, wear your mask. Because when dust gets in your lungs, it does not go away. So when grinding dust, as we like to call it, going to Foam City, make sure you wear your mask. I turn off the vacuum. What I'm going to do now is that when grinding with the electric Dremel and whatnot, you can always just remove too much foam too quickly. So I'm at a point where I'm really happy with it, but at a certain point I have a belt sander. If I go on a belt sander, it removes the foam quickly, but if you remove too much, you can't go back. So this is where the sanding sticks come in handy. I'm going to very carefully take my 80-grit sandpaper on this and start taking down the handle a little bit at a time. And just get to where I'm comfortable with it. Just kind of round everything out, really nice. I'm gonna start doing the, this is a 220. This is gonna just minimize some of the scratches and just kind of bring it down just a little bit. Okay, well, I did as much as I can. I like this. The handle's looking really great from the sanding sticks. So our next step is, I wanna get this blade a little bit more tapered, so I'm gonna have I had the heavy duty drum, but I switched it to a medium drum so I can just cut it very gradually. But again, I have to be very careful. I'm going to grind this down and bring the blade up and kind of make it more like a point. So I'm going to go ahead and get my mask on and turn on the vacuum. And let's begin. Now we got this close to where I'd like it. The next step of detail is the texture on the handle. Now I have the paper pattern, but since I have the actual prop from the movie, I took a ballpoint pen. I'm starting to map out where they're going to go. Now there's different ways of making these divots, and I've been thinking about this. I could use the Dremel bit and just turn on high speed and kind of push into it. But I think I'd be better off with just using the wood burner. But let's see if we can find a bit that I'd be happy with, that we can do this with. Look at that. A little round nub, that's perfect. Now I got the wood burner, it seems to be pretty hot. But before I actually try this on my handle, you always want to do a test. So always keep a scrap piece of foam, but make sure the foam is the same foam you're using on your prop. So because if you do different foams, you get different reactions. So make sure this works. Hold on. Oh, look at that. That's perfect. Did exactly what I want to do. But I'm going to turn the fan on. There's a fan off camera. And it'll be a little bit of a humming noise you'll be hearing, but I need to turn this on so the toxic fumes do not go in my face. Oh, that's... it actually looks better and has a right to it. That's awesome. All right. Now, if you look on this guy, there's a little bit of finite detail around this leading into these holes. And I have a little bit of a ridge around them. I could probably go in with the wood burner very lightly. A bit of an experiment. So I'm going to try very carefully. The trick is I can't push as deep. I'm trying to go very light. Inside this is some deep lines as well too. So I am digging this tip right here. So that's the next spot to tackle. Let's do that. Add some detail in there. Now we have this band here. We're going to to reproduce this, we're going to take, now I can make a pattern off of this, but it'll be different. So if you're sculpting yours, each one's going to be a little bit different. So I would just take your foam knife that you sculpted and carved out of foam and just wrap foil around it. All right, do a little bit of a test fit. Not bad. Just a bit of Scotch tape. Wrap our pattern, have the seam go on the top. That's the thinnest part. We'll wrap up here. At an angle. Make sure this is symmetrical. Let's go ahead and fold it in half. I apologize for the fan blowing. I realized when I did the wood burn, I forgot to turn the fan off, so the audio's got a bit of a noise, so I apologize. And this will go on the bottom, like this. We'll start with the bottom, and we'll wrap it. Now once we wrap it, we'll cap the end. Let's see how it falls. No! Look at this. Look at that. Boo! Damn it. Ah! Okay. Now I could patch this, but you know something? When you get something like this, it's foam, it's cheap, just remake it. Go longer. Let's try this again. Round 2. Again, drop on the bottom like this, line it up. Great, it's gonna land right there. So what I do is I let them touch a little bit. Kind of see what's gonna fall. Maybe make a little mark, a really thin coat. Back side here. Start with the bottom. Make sure it's centered. Let me apply a little bit of glue to the edges because I'd like them to touch. Kind of pull it together. So let's do a little dab of glue on both sides. Okay, now what I do is I line them up on the same time, have them touch, push them together, and voila, perfect. Looking good. That looks really good. Now the next thing I want to do is we have to cap off this end. I don't really know what the diameter was, so what I do is we just go ahead and just a simple trace. Lay it down on a piece of foam. There, perfect. This is where I take the Dremel and a stone bit. I just clamp the edges very carefully. All right. There you go. There's our triangle. Test fit right there. You know, I like that. Could be a little smaller because once you cut out a foam, it's going to be a little bit bigger. That is it. Here's the movie prop. Here is my foam replica. This turned out awesome. Thank God for the wood burner and that little bit. That made the world of difference on the detail. So again, everybody, if you do not have a wood burner, definitely get one of those. It's a lifesaver on this particular project. My next step is I'm going to seal it. I have lots of things I like to seal with, but I'm going to do a little experiment today. I went out and got some Rust-Oleum leak seal, flexible rubber coating. I've seen other people use this, and for something small like a prop, it's definitely worth a try. So I'm going to try this stuff out and see how durable it is. But another trick I'm going to do is for something like this, there's really no way to glue a sprue onto it. If I do, it's going to leave a big mark on it. So I got some thin baling wire, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to push into my foam knife like this, and it gives me enough tension that I'll be able to hang it and spray it without leaving a big mark. So we're going to go ahead and take this guy outside and spray this, and let's see how it looks. Well, there it is. This is awesome. Again, I coated this with the Rust-Oleum flexible. This is the white, and I won't lie. I'll warn you though, when this stuff comes out, it comes out like a garden hose. It doesn't just spray like plastic dip. This comes out really heavy, so you have to get back a distance. But don't panic because it comes out, it does settle. But it's super flexible. This is nice. I'm not going to paint exactly, but it's going to tone, but I like the off-white. So I went ahead and took some yellow and white acrylic, kind of mixed them together. And I'm going to do a little bit of an off-white base to it. This is burnt sienna, which is the perfect color that I'm using for this bone. Is I'm going to take this on a brush. Let's see what this looks like. All right, now, with that being thinned down a little bit more, because this result, wow.
That's awesome. Oh my God. Oh my God.
All right, I took a Q-tip and I'm now going to wipe off a majority of the oil on here. Now I'm going to use Tamiya. This is the metallic gray. It's a dark metallic gray. This is looking really good. I realized what I'm going to do next is that the edges where the metal and the bone meet, I'm just going to go a little darker, just on the edges. Out. So I'm going to get in here and then take a ta-da!
I can't, no. That was...
All right, everybody, there it is. Look at this. This is the movie prop. Here's my foam replica. Not bad. Again, I'll be honest, I like this color better than I do this one. It's a little bit subtle, more brown. I like this kind of burnt sienna look. I might end up painting mine to look more like that. This came out beautiful. I'm really happy with this. Again, this is doing the new stuff with the Rust-Oleum Flex Seal. Pretty durable. But wow, I'm really happy how this turned out. I'm going to make these patterns available in my shop. This is a must-have. This is so cool. I really enjoyed making this.
That's great, Ted.
Woo! There it is, everybody. This is the Crysknife from the movie Dune. This is what the local inhabitants of the planet Arrakis had their weapons from. They're called the Fremen. I love that movie so much. I wanted to make something foam, but also I wanted to make sure that people teach you a little bit about foam sculpting. Everything's usually pattern making, but this is foam sculpting. You stack foam and start cutting into it and just carving, getting Dremel tools. And when you're buying bits, buy different kind of bits and experiment with them and have fun. And also, I did a wood burner a lot too. If you don't have a wood burner, that's another great one I highly recommend. Everybody, I want to say thank you so much for watching. Oh wait, who's this with me?
Oh, it's Sylvia Slays.
Sylvia Slays, everybody. And the reason Sylvia Slays, you're like, Ted, why is she in your video right now? The reason I'm being is we're doing this video live from twitch.tv/eviltedsmith. And Sylvia is also a great fabricator and fellow builder. And she soon will be having her own Twitch stream channel. Exactly. And what is going to be? Is it going to be?
It's going to be at Sylvia Slays.
At Sylvia's. It's at Sylvia Slays slash. It's
Twitch.com.
No, it's Sylvia Slays
Twitch.tv
slash. No, it's got Twitch.tv slash.
Sylvia
Slays.
Right?
Yeah,
it's
exactly. Twitch.tv/Sylvia Slays. That's how you'll find her, guys. So please come. Definitely give it a follow. Check it out because she'll be having videos up too, and she'll be doing her things live on Twitch as well. And everybody, if you're new watching my channel, don't forget to subscribe and go to my website, eviltedsmith.com, where I have numerous patterns for sale. And if you guys want to know where I'm going to be, you click on the event. It tells you where I'm going to be. And if you guys like this, I'm going to go ahead and start working on making these patterns and make this available on my shop as well. And don't forget, I have numerous patterns like Viking helmets, knight helmet, basic helmets, armor. If you're really new to cosplay, don't be intimidated. Jump in, start building. And if you guys are a little intimidated and you want to reach out to me, sometimes I get busy, but you can go to Facebook and get on Evil Ted's Foam Fanatics. It's a Facebook page. There's a really great creative community there, and they're super friendly. Please join, hang out. Oh, but when you join, be sure to answer the 2 questions. That's all I ask, so we know you're not a bot. All right? Guys, thanks for hanging out, and I'll catch you back next time right here on Evil Ted Live. Bye.